joining me in studio to talk a bit more about what we saw or heard today is my colleague Philip Namfori, who is a JoyBusiness researcher and analyst as well. Interesting conversation we've had today, and welcome to see anyway.
Thank you very much.
I'll start with what stood out for me, and that was Prince Amwabing, who is the founder of the defunct UT Bank, seeking to say that the central bank sort of ran down his bank. What was he trying to say there?
Okay, Daryl. So I figured that would stand out for you. He was just trying to, and as he was speaking, he kept on saying that I'll be very blunt, I'll be very open, I'll be very honest. And he believes the methodology the Bank of Ghana employed in taking care of some of the banks, he believes it was subjective. He believes one broom was used to brush all these banks that were collapsed. Rather, he should have looked at it in a different way. He said they should have gone case-by-case basis. And as soon as he said that, the Bank Information Department head, Mr. Osejisi, said in their press releases, they stated case-by-case what each bank's issue was. So he disagreed with him on that. But he also believes this issue on the 14th of August, 2017, when the purchase and assumption agreement was finalized, these police security men, staff being at the front of some of the GCB, the UT banks and all that, he felt it was a bit unnecessary. This could have been done in a better manner. And he made reference to the fact that he has engaged I'm sure he has engaged the governor of the Bank of Ghana, and he believes he's a calm gentleman. So he was surprised at this approach, and those were his words, paraphrased. So you could see that he wasn't very, but I think he also acknowledged that if UT was beyond saving, then fine. But he felt like some issues in the run-up, particularly on the point of the investors they were bringing to augment their capital and revitalize growth, was a problem. So these were some of the things that he raised at the forum. I don't know whether we can listen to him or we can watch him.
I think we're trying to get us that soundbite. I don't know if we have that right now. But we also had the head of banking supervision of the central bank say, well, we are not the ones to blame for the collapse of the banks, but the shareholders of these banks. And
Dr. Etuahene took us back to a report from the IMF, 2011, that chronicled what we are seeing in 2017, 18, and 19. And he believes that if we had followed through with this IMF report, a financial stability assessment report, we wouldn't have been in this mess. And Daryl, interesting enough, if I asked you what's the difference between a banking sector reform and a banking sector cleanup, what would you say?
I have no idea. Can you answer that?
So after some of the panelists agreed that this whole cleanup is not over, Mrs. Marambano used an analogy where if you go to the dentist for teeth cleaning or whitening, and you start putting candy, caffeine, etc., you come back again for some whitening.
I sort of get the drift.
Yes, but as soon as she said that, Mr. Osejisi said the cleanup is done, but the reforms aren't. Then everybody laughed in the room there. Because,
so what's happening right now?
Yes, so he feels like, yes, the cleanup in terms of taking out some of the institutions, etc., is done, but the reforms will continue. Some were saying semantics. I literally heard people on my right saying the word semantics. So it's open up to debate. That was one interesting light issue that came up. But the issue of corporate governance, and not with regards to the banks, but with regards to the Bank of Ghana. Why? If you look at the Bank of Ghana's Act as amended, you would realize that the governor is the head of the Bank of Ghana itself as governor. And this is not a personality attack. This is what is in the law. So whoever comes in will have to go by the law. He's the head of the bank, he's the head of the board, and he's the head of the monetary policy. And two of our panelists, Dr. Etuahene, Mrs. Marambano, feel like this is in itself is a corporate governance issue.
Not to cut you, but I think that we can get bits of what Marambano had to say, talking about the fact that we should not only appoint men and women of integrity, but appoint people who can be independent-minded and who will not be controlled by shareholders. All right. We'll get that for you. So, interesting point about corporate governance.
One may argue this is to ensure that the Bank of Ghana's independence is guaranteed. One may argue you are giving too many powers to the governor. He's the board chair. He's the one who ensures the day-to-day as the management, as the governor, and he's the MPC head. So all these concentrated in one man's hands becomes a corporate governance issue, which we are finding out. We are finding out, I beg your pardon, where some of the issues in the banking sector.
We can listen to Mariam Bano right now.
Talking about the shareholders, we are talking about the directors, we are talking about management, we are talking about the internal auditor and the external auditor, we are talking about the company secretary, and we are talking about the regulator. Now, if you look at this structure, the most important pillar is the board of directors, because the shareholder sometimes is the culprit. The shareholder has self-interest, but it is the board of directors who hold the balance. But then the question is, how strong are they? How strong is the board? That is why corporate governance today is talking about independence in the boardroom. Independent-minded people who are strong enough and are able to check the shareholder who owns the business.
Okay, so how independent is the board?
Yes, so what she's trying to refer to is on boards, Darryl, we need a preponderance of independent non-executive directors. Let me explain quickly. On the board, we have a mix between executive directors who form part of day-to-day running of the bank. We have non-executive directors who have some connection to the bank but do not form day-to-day running of the bank. What now corporate governance is advocating for is INED. That's independent non-executive directors. You have no affiliation whatsoever to the business apart from the fees you are paid. So they're in a better position to challenge what is going on the board. So you just don't sit on the board and rubber stamp. She also added that the education and training we give to board members, being on the board, especially of a bank, is no joke. People think it's child's play. We walk in, hey, hey, ha, ha, ha. No, you need more training. We need to keep on the go. And BOG has in its fit and proper, etc., some of these directives, stipulations on who can be a board member. We need to enforce this to the letter. Compliance also came up there. We need to enforce this. A lot of issues came up there. Let me touch on one more thing before we go on. Now, the issue about the financial sector regulation and some of the laws we have. Mrs. Marabana was advocating for some new legislation. Let me give an example from what Reverend Obami said. The Securities Industry Act, 2016, Act 929, it says that if somebody offends for a particular offense, the punishment there is 12 Ghana cedis. In penalty units, I'm not very sure. But Reverend Obama himself said it. So if somebody commits an offense and is in contravention of the Securities Industry Act, what he's going to pay is 12 Ghana cedis. Darryl, is that punitive or pecuniary enough for that person? No. Not. So we need to really look at some of these laws regulating the financial sector and see if we can make some amendments here and there. So these were some of the issues. There were a lot, I'm sure, in our subsequent bulletins we'll be discussing them.
The question is, where do we go from here? Now what? The now what question, was it answered?
Yes. Liquidity. One, we need funds. Private Enterprise Federation mentioned this. 2, compliance. Very necessary. 3, confidence. Without it, the financial sector is, boom, useless, nothing. We need that confidence back. And these regulators must ensure that there's greater coordination between all of them to ensure that everything is well and good.
Thanks very much. Very insightful there. I believe that the conversation will continue. Thank you very much indeed, Philip Namfori, for the update from the Joy Business Financial Services from the 3rd edition. You may want to watch videos in case you missed out on it on our website, nigeriaonline.com/business.